So, as usual, I see everyone is freaking out about AI taking their jobs. If you're young, about to graduate, or early in your career, you are probably really worried too. Now, I see a lot of the same comments, like I'm sure all of you watching this do, where people are saying, will there even be jobs left for humans for this next generation of talent, even our generation of talent? And I can say, as someone who works with organizations planning for the future of work, or as much as we can, I totally get where that fear comes from because it's no different for those in the workplace either. So you really aren't alone if you're a student or graduate in that, because those of us in the workplace are also trying to figure this out. Now, the simple answer to a lot of the question in will AI take my job? Or what will I be doing 5 years from now is no one knows what the hell was going to happen. And we should all really be wary of those who say they do know or are experts, should we say. But look, I get it. Every day there's a new headline about AI doing something incredible. And it can feel like for you as a student or a graduate that, by the time you have graduated or are a graduate now, that there won't really be anything left for you to do. That's not going to be the case, though. We're going to talk about that, what history can show us, and what are some of the things that you can focus on as well as a student right now or as a graduate trying to break into the workforce, specifically in this era of AI, because there's always a cycle with these sort of things because no one knows where the value will really be derived. We have ideas, we're experimenting, we're seeing some use cases, but we don't really know from a productivity standpoint and from a long term financial standpoint what is really being derived there currently. We're still very much in this mega hype bubble. And because the economy is having a fit every kind of like 10 seconds, no one can say with certainty or certainty even, where is this all headed? But we do have some signals that I think are worth paying attention to that can help us look at where could we plan? Where could we invest our time? What are some of the skills that could be helpful for as a student, as a graduate, even those of you in the workforce at the moment in time? So first things first, according to research from those lovely people at the World Economic Forum in their 2025 Future of Jobs report, they said by 2030, we're looking at a net increase of 78 million jobs globally. What they are, we don't know yet because that'll be 2030. What we can say is that some roles are going to disappear. So, although the World Economic Forum is saying they think there's going to be 78 million new types of jobs globally, they do believe that 92 million will actually disappear. There's going to be creation and there's going to be destruction. That is normal. That's an important perspective to understand. That is not something that we've not seen before as a society. And what we can see in that same report is that around 22% of those roles are expected to change significantly because of tech, because of automation, because of change in business needs. Again, that's going to include new jobs that haven't existed before. And this really isn't anything new. So we think about a bit of a reality check, especially for you who are students or new graduates. We can kind of look to history a little bit. Now, I'm fully aware that history is not a good indicator of what will happen always in the future. But there's some stories, some use cases, whatever you kind of want to look at it as that we can look to understand. So first things first, and for those of you kind of below 25, this might sound a bit weird, but I think they're really, really helpful. So when calculators first came out, people actually thought mathematicians and maths would be obsolete, which is kind of funny now, right? When Microsoft Excel launched, which no one kind of sees as a threat nowadays, there was a kind of big movement that accountants were supposed to disappear, finance was going to crumble. What would we do in the almighty power of Excel and its functions and reporting capabilities? But what actually happened is accountants became huge users of those tools and were able to use that as a key tool in what they do. And then again, when the internet arrived, traditional businesses were all doomed and it was all going to end. Same with social media. Social media exploded. You know, all the word was marketing was dead, social media rules. We know that is not what actually happened. Mathematicians evolved, they used calculators, no one disappeared, maths did not disappear. Accountants became more strategic by using Excel. Businesses were transformed, new industries were created because of the internet, and marketing became even more sophisticated because of social media. It became data driven. There was new opportunities, new parts of micro industries to build. So yeah, tech can eliminate jobs, it can eliminate parts of industries, but it creates new ones as well. You got to think like back in 95, which will be hard for the young ones of you to think about because you're probably born then, is that you couldn't have predicted a social media manager. It just wouldn't have been on the cards. None of the technology existed. None of that idea was even in place. Same with a software engineer. Wasn't really a thing, even around kind of 2000. And then again, we talk about data science nowadays and data scientists. Did you really hear about that before 2010? Not really. So look, things change. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means there's a reshaping, there's a shift, but you can navigate. So let's be a bit more positive and look at what AI can actually do and what can you do. And I think a lot of this, and this answers our kind of question around where is it going to be most useful for you to focus is human skills. And we'll break that down in a moment. But what I really believe is from the work that I do as a chief learning strategist with companies and research is that human skills are going to become the new premium. So we see this in lots of reports from McKinsey, from BCG, again from the World Economic Forum that we just spoke about with their future of jobs report, where they're already saying by 2030, they're expecting 40% of core skills to change. And basically, what they're already looking at is employers are desperate, and I say that word specifically, for people who bring critical thinking, analytical thinking under the kind of same barrier, emotional intelligence, they're resilient, they can adapt, they have social influence. So they can work with people, they can lead people, they can build high performing teams. And of course, those who are always curious, if I'm a learning and development perspective. And I say that because I'm an L&D person as well. It's key that at the end of the day, we're always learning every day. Whether you know that or not is a different thing, but we are always doing it. So we're to break that down and we're to talk about, critical thinking as an example. Critical thinking can come in many, many forms. And it's one of the key skills, you really need, despite if you think AI is going to take over the world, automate everything, or even if it's going to do it for you, it's not going to do it for you to the level that you can as a human. And critical thinking is what it says on the team. It's really thinking about thinking, being critical about why you're doing things, how are you doing things, what are you doing? Asking questions. It may be something very simple where you're having a meeting at work and you need to change the delivery of what you're explaining because of someone's body language in that room. And AI can't really help you with that. So we have to be kind of really clear on that critical thinking is incredibly important. So is emotional intelligence. Now, emotions are our human form of data. We use that data to navigate our world, to understand people, to make decisions, and of course, do many, many things. So understanding that nuance in human communication and building genuine relationships is so, so powerful because not that I always agree with it, but unfortunately, I think it is very much accurate that it really is who you know sometimes rather than what you know. So building those genuine, meaningful relationships and having the ability to do that with social skills and to communicate well is always going to be powerful. And of course, there's many things that AI can help you with and should help you with, and you should definitely be using AI to do that in terms of building on ideas, finding innovative solutions to unique problems, adapting some of the things that you do, but adding in your unique humanness or humanness, could we call it that? An example of that may be you could be an entrepreneur who wants to pivot their business. You can use AI to help you with that. So this is not saying that you should only do human skills. This is being really clear on focusing on both your human skills and also how you work with AI. And that's because the smart approach is really going to be thinking about how you position yourself for success in whatever you want to call this now, the AI era, the AI enhanced world. And a lot of that is, let's be frank, work with AI, spend time understanding different tools, how they can help you, how you can get benefit from them, how you can leverage those. in your career for your skills because look at it as a tool, not as a replacement. And there's many examples of this kind of AI human collaboration. It's not either or, it's really powerful when it's together. Writers are using AI for research and editing. Designers are using AI for initial concepts. Marketers are using AI for data analysis and way, way more. And while AI is incredibly powerful, you still need to think critically, indulge in logical reasoning, question stuff, always question stuff, be able to express your ideas and your feelings to other humans. That is going to help you go so, so far in life. That is absolutely unbelievable to continue to overstate that of how important that is. And people who develop these traits will be in demand. And like I say, always think about how can you work with human and AI together? Not this either or conversation, because it really doesn't need to be that. Now, I totally get it, and I'm a realist that there'll be a bunch of people who will say, oh, but AI can do blah, blah, blah already. I get that, but it can't do it all. And like I said before, in social settings, when you're with other humans and you're having to think on the spot, you need to have the skills in order to do that. And what you really want to do is spend time using AI to execute on your ideas and your thinking, not outsourcing your thinking to AI. That's the biggest mistake that people make. So, look, in sum, the truth is nobody knows exactly what the future holds. But what we do know is that the people who will thrive aren't ones who try to compete with AI. They are people who focus on what makes them uniquely human while using AI to amplify their capabilities. And that is where I would suggest you spend your time in terms of your education and breaking into the workforce. Now, AI is like a superpower, right? And we have to understand how to use superpowers to help you work faster, be better, more efficient. Totally get it. Get on board with that. Understand it. But you are still the one who needs to decide what to create, to build ideas, what are the problems that need to be solved, and then how you're going to connect that with other humans. So, look, if you got to the end of this, I hope this has been helpful. If you want to hear more about how you can develop some of those human skills alongside working with AI and use AI to impact your career going forward, especially if you're a student or you're a graduate, and even all of those who I always talk to in the workplace, then you can follow all my work in my Steal These Thoughts newsletter. You'll find a link to this wherever you're viewing this. And of course, as always, let me know your thoughts. Are you worried about AI's impact on your career? What skills are you going to be focusing on developing over the next 5, 10 years? Let me know and we can chat about that. Like I say, I hope it's been helpful and I'll speak to you in the next one.